Welcome to another edition of the Sportaholics. I'm the host, Russ. That's Payton, your expert. And today, man, I hope y'all got y'all popcorn ready because there is week one football straight ahead of us, man. College football is back, baby. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited just as much as us. Payton, what you think, man?
Oh, I'm excited.
You ready to go?
I think the audience knows by now. I'm a big football guy. I watch every game, so
yes, sir.
I'm there with you.
Yes, sir. But before we get into that, man, if you guys are not already following us on all our social media platforms, please do so. If you subscribe to the channel already, please make sure you drop a like and a comment below. But as we get into the show, Payton, what we drinking on today, man?
Man, we have another edition of Evan Williams. This time it's going to be Evan Williams Honey.
Okay.
You know, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey blended with honey, liqueur, and caramel color.
All right, let's crack that thing open. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And like I said before, you guys, y'all make sure y'all follow us at the Sportaholics, man, on all social media platforms. We are finally up and running, and I'm excited to talk to you guys. So send me a message. Send us a message, drop a comment, and we're gonna try this and we'll be right back and we'll get into some football action. Let's do it.
Purchase your track today.
And since we are celebrating week one of college football, we have the festive glasses here, LSU.
Go Tigers, and
know,
that's a G-E-A-U-X, Go Tigers.
Okay, all right. My boy is a full-time Bayou Bengal here, so we had to represent his school. And with that being said, man, Payton's going to touch on them a little bit later in the show. So, yeah, let's get to it, man. But before we get to all the major storylines in college football leading up to week one, I did have to give a shout out to Marlu Tha Kang. Marlu Tha Kang is most famously known for putting HBCU rosters on NBA 2K, but this time he did it again for College Football 25. If you guys want to rep your school, you can definitely go and check out his roster update. And I want to let you know he did not hold back. He did his thing. He did his number when it comes to the detail uniforms and the roster layout. And he didn't stop there. He also added the stadiums as well and the stadium design. So if you want to, you can head over to the download center in College Football 25 and you can search up 26 Finest, get your copy, rep your school.
Man, I think it's a great addition to a game. I'm glad someone took some time out of their day and created those rosters. That's got to be really exciting. Especially
for me being an HBCU graduate, man, it means a lot to me if somebody takes their time out to, you know, just put the effort forward. And he's known for doing these type of things. And I saw some of the gameplay and some of the artwork, and it's amazing, man. So be sure y'all check him out, Marlu Tha Kang, and yeah, let us know what you guys think about the update. And let's just go ahead and move on to our first topic, man. Ohio State, Coach Ryan Day. There's a lot of expectations for Ohio State coming into the season. Payton, what are some of your thoughts for Ohio State? Is it title or bust?
Man, I don't believe it's title or bust, but either way, this really comes down to one thing, right? And everybody knows what that one thing is. The fact that Ohio State has not beaten Michigan in 3 years.
Yes, sir.
And you could ask an Ohio State fan point blank this year, even if they won the national title, but they didn't meet Michigan along the way, they would themselves put an asterisk next to that title. So that's the great thing about college football. That shows you the fabric of college football, that these rivalries mean something.
Yep.
But to go back to my point about how it's not title or bust for Ohio State, especially with the expanded playoff field, it's even harder to win that title now.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, as we all remember, Georgia played Ohio State in that historic semifinal game, and Ohio State was a field goal kick away from making it to the title game. So I don't see it as title or bust. I go back to the fact that this sport is really about the rivalries, and I think it sounds crazy, but it's almost like Ohio State fans would take a win over Michigan before they're worried about winning the national title.
100%, and I think that's a well-known fact when it comes to the rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State. But let me ask you a question. When we say title or bust, does this mean that Ryan Day's last day in Ohio State is coming if they don't win a championship here? And now to clarify, you do mean national championship, not a conference championship, correct?
As crazy as it sounds, that's what everyone's saying. They're talking about the natty.
Yeah.
But I don't believe so.
Okay.
If they don't get it done, I see Ryan Day coming back.
Okay. What are some of the things that would lead them to? Firstly, I mean, they can have an at-large bid and still make the playoff, but if they don't win their conference championship, but what are some of the things that would lead them to potentially having a national championship and being a national champion contender?
Man, really leaning on that defense.
Okay.
Because they've got some horses, particularly on the defensive line, but my favorite player is Caleb Downs at safety. So leaning on the defense, running the ball, and trusting that the quarterback will make plays at the right time.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned safety, because for our next topic, we want to talk about some positions on the field that hold the most value. So moving right along to our next discussion, man. Payton and I decided to go ahead and list out our top 4 positions of value when it comes to playing the sport of football. So Payton, I'll lead the way on this one, and you can come right in behind me. So at number 4, first of all, before I even get into what my number 4 pick is, I know most people will, they usually say that it's importance that holds the value. But for me, and the way that I built out my list, I'm going by difficulty. Positions that are the most difficult to play on the football field. And I guess I'll start. So at number 4, I have offensive tackle. That being over 300 pounds, you have to block a guy that's pretty much more leaner than you are, more than likely way quicker and faster than you are. And in pass protection, they can see where the ball is, like the quarterback standing in the pocket. So they know that if they sail outside and they come back inside, the quarterback's going to be sitting right there. So I think offensive tackles are at a disadvantage when it comes to pass protection. So that's one reason why I think they have a lot of value when it comes to positions. And it makes for a hell of a job. I can really see why they get paid the big bucks in the NFL, because when you're on an island like that, and speaking of islands, that's probably like some foreshadowing to my number 1 pick. But when you're on an island like that, it makes it hard for you to really do your job. So I mean, big credit to those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Who's your number 4?
My number 4 would be the safety position. I think nowadays those guys are asked to do a lot, like cover slot receivers, blitz at times, make tackles in the open field. So I think safety is the 4th most important position, excuse me.
Okay, all right. Well, number 3 for me would go to the interior defensive lineman. When you have 2 to 3 big uglies on your head every play, that makes it a hard position to play. And when it comes to the run game, pass protection, when it comes to pass rush, they are responsible for bull rushing and creating as much pressure up the middle as possible. But when it comes to the run game, you're getting doubled and triple teamed almost every play. So with that being said, like in the run game, if you can hold your ground and not give up too much ground, or that makes it a hard position to play. And if you can fill your hole and just stay in your hole, make the running back or the quarterback go in a different direction, you did your job. Now making the tackle, that's just the added bonus to it. So for number 3 on my list, I have the interior defensive lineman.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and just skip to number 2 on my list because I have the same position as you. I'm going interior D lineman as well.
Okay.
And you think about Michigan last year with Mason Graham and some of those guys on the front line. That was a big reason they won the title. And you hit on it, stuffing the run.
Yeah.
These days, we saw in that Week 0 game between Florida State and Georgia Tech, you know, the run game can be overpowered. So if I've got someone right in the middle of that defense that can hold their ground and stuff the run, that can be real valuable.
It's super important, man. That's super important, and I think they don't get enough shine. And I play offensive line coming up, and I play offensive line in college, right? So I understand how much of a not glamour position it is. You know, we don't get the headlines. We don't get all the attention on us. When people are watching the games on Saturdays and Sundays, they're not necessarily looking at the offensive line or the defensive line. So big credit to them, and I had to show the defensive line some love.
Oh, yeah.
So number 2, who do you got?
Number 2 on my list. Well, I had interior D-line, so I'll go back to number 3.
Okay.
Because I kind of flip-flopped there. I just wanted to go piggyback off of what you were saying.
Got you.
But I'm going to go with the wide receiver position.
Okay.
There's one main reason why. I think at the college level, it's even harder than the pro level to double team guys at that position. I think with the wide hash marks, it makes it difficult. And if you are going to go double team them, that creates a ton of space, even more so at the college game for other guys to operate. So they get their one-on-one opportunities more than people realize, especially along the sideline.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the wide receiver.
Wow. So wide receiver was your number 3.
Yes.
Correct? But you flip-flop from them being number 3 into number 2. So
yeah.
Here's the most controversial position for me on my list as far as positional value goes. And I'm kind of nervous to actually tell people exactly what it is because I know a lot of people are going to think the opposite of me. In most lists, we'll have this position at number 1, but today I have them at number 2, and that position would be the quarterback position. Yes, so I understand that the quarterback position holds a lot of responsibility. They have to read defenses. They're watching blitzes. They have defenders tugging at their jersey, and you know they got to worry about ball security and things of this nature. And most importantly, they get the blame or the praise for the win or the loss. So they have a lot of responsibility when it comes to what they hold as far as through their position. But for me, that would be number 2 in the game. And it's tough because my next position, as far as positional value goes, I think I'm spot on, but most people don't think like me. So I'm interested to see what you have at your number 1.
Yeah, my number 1 would be the position that you just hit on for obvious reasons. They touch the ball the most. They are relied on as playmakers throughout the course of a game. But I love the different perspective, to be honest with you. And I'm excited to hear your number 1 position, man.
Yeah, so number 1 for me will be the cornerback position. All right. So the reason why I created the list the way I did is because I went off of the difficulty in playing these positions, right? So if you are not only that, but the value. So if you have a trash corner and he's getting mossed and head topped every game, 1, he's not gonna be in the game. But 2, the opposing team is gonna be scoring all day long. So these guys have a major responsibility when it comes to keeping points off the board. And I think that's why they have the mentality that they have at the cornerback position. Like, you really got to be a dog, right? And some of the reasons why I say you got to be a dog is because most of the time they're dealing with size disadvantages. They're dealing with speedy and agile receivers. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they're playing with their back to the ball. So they don't know that the ball is in the air. They don't know that it's coming, so on and so forth. So with that being said, man, another reason why I chose cornerback over quarterback
Yeah.
is because, the reason why I chose cornerback over quarterback is because I would trust myself playing quarterback a lot more than I would cornerback. You don't want to see me out there on that island. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
me either, man. I hear you.
Like, I'll stand in the pocket all day and I'll pick defenses off. I'm not saying I'm a great quarterback, but I like me at quarterback way more than I like myself at cornerback. So, yeah, man. What do you think about that? What do you think about the cornerback being my top pick for positional value?
Well, like I said, I love the perspective on it, and I think it's a very important position on the defensive side of the ball. As you alluded to earlier, oftentimes they're on islands, and as I talked about earlier, oftentimes with receivers, you don't see that many double teams in college. So
and
they're put in a tough position for sure.
it might be an unpopular opinion. I get it. It probably 9 times out of 10 it is an unpopular opinion, but that's why I sit over here and we have these discussions, man, just for a different perspective. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
With that being said, man, Payton, let's go ahead and move forward in the show, and let's talk some predictions and some expectations for games that are happening this weekend. Some big matchups that we got going into the weekend. So first game on the list will be my Miami Hurricanes versus the Florida Gators out of Gainesville, with the game being in Gainesville Saturday. So what are some things that you're looking for, and who do you got, man?
Man, first of all, super excited for this game. Second of all, I think Florida has less margin for error in this game because we know Miami's quarterback, Cam Ward, is going to make some wow plays. He's going to make some splashy plays. So how does Florida offset that? I would start on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to need some second-level defenders to come up and make plays at opportune times. Whether it's a big tackle for loss or a big turnover at the right time, that's what I'm looking for from Florida. And then also, as I alluded to with Cam Ward, he's going to be making the wow plays. Graham Mertz is an efficient quarterback for Florida. I don't see him matching Cam Ward with the wow plays, so I think it's more important that Florida's offense stays on schedule in this one, stays ahead of the chains, keeps a balanced approach, and lets Graham Mertz be efficient, especially in between the 20s.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, so what I will say is for both teams, they need this victory. So that is a great setup for a great game. And I think a lot of fans on both sides will be sitting on the edge of their seats because they know how badly they need this game. And unlike its in-state and also in-conference rival, Florida State, Miami can't really afford to lose this game to an unranked opponent. And just on the opposite side, Florida needs this win against a ranked opponent in order to prove their self-worth. So I think this is going to be a good game. Both coaches are in an interesting point in their career and in their tenure with both programs. But one coach seat is a little bit hotter than the other. And I would say that Billy Napier's seat is the hottest of them all, right? Like,
no doubt.
Like, Cristobal, he probably has a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to expectations this season. But for the Gator hopeful, they are sitting there and they have high expectations for this team. And we were talking about Ryan Day. Ryan Day might have more wiggle room than Billy Napier. So with that being said, give the people what they want, man. Who you got this weekend?
Ooh, man. I think DJ Lagway, Florida's backup quarterback, makes a big difference in this game on a couple of plays, especially in the red zone. And I got to represent for the SEC, right? You know what I mean? So I might, with my head, I'm thinking Miami. With my heart, I'm thinking Florida. But I'm going to go with the Gators. They do have the home field advantage. And like I said, I think DJ Lagway makes a couple of plays in the red zone that gives them the slight edge. I'll go 24-20 Florida.
24-20.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Well, I know most people expect me to pick the Canes. But with the game being in Gainesville, I'm going to do that anyway. So you know I'm rocking with the Canes. I don't care nothing about the SEC. Florida Gators, man, it don't matter where we play. We could play in the swamp. We could play in the zoo. We could play in the back alleys. It don't matter, man. I'm going to take the Canes all day. And if I had to put a score on it, I don't think it'll be that high. I'm definitely going, let's go 17-14. Woo. Canes.
Okay.
17-14 Canes. I like it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So moving right along, our next big game is the Bayou Bengals versus the Trojans of Southern California.
Yeah.
What are your takes on this game, and what sets this team up, both teams up for victory?
Man, my first thoughts are I better get the prediction right for this one because I'm already feeling a little iffy about the Miami-Florida game, and we know how Florida State showed up. But
Yeah.
no, for both offenses, they present a ton of problems for defenses when talking about LSU and USC with utilization of spread formations and the run-pass option game. I mean, they really put a bunch of defenders in conflict at all times. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of talk about, well, both of these defenses are bad. There's not enough praise around both offenses being high-powered. I mean, if either of these teams matched up against some of the best defenses in the country, let's say a Georgia and Ohio State, that point total is still going to be close to 50, if not even higher, for that respective game. So, in turn, you do have to talk about the defense at some point, right? And I think for both teams, it's going to be about staying disciplined in that run-pass option game because, Russ, as you know, offensive linemen are starting to come downhill. As a linebacker, you don't want to over-pursue and then the tight end's popping you behind your head.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So staying disciplined, not over-pursuing, not overreacting really for both defense.
Yeah. Before you get into your next point or give your prediction, I do want to say both teams lost a lot of weapons to the NFL, right? But that's the nature of the beast when it comes to college football. You know that it's high turnover and you have to adjust on the fly. So just to back up what you're saying, both teams will have to manage this game, and I'm gonna roll with the Bayou Bengals here. I like them. They seem to be a powerhouse when it comes to turning players into getting them ready for the next level. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with LSU against the Trojans. But I will say we know that USC is known for scoring a lot of points.
No doubt.
They are known for scoring a lot of points, but that just furthers your point. Like, game management is going to be a tremendous thing. And this is what I was talking about last week when we were talking about FSU versus Georgia Tech. Game management is crucial, especially when you know that teams can score 35, 40 points in a game, right? So I'm going with LSU. Mm-hmm. And if they want to win this game, the score has to be somewhere around 28-21.
Okay.
And I'll take LSU 28-21.
I'm going to take LSU as well.
Yep.
Obviously, I've got the helmet right here.
And the glasses. Let's not forget the glasses.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Now, I want to ask you, Russ, what do you think about the point total for this game? I assume you're going under because it is up to 64.5. I know you just said 28-21. Maybe that changes your thoughts in a sense because the experts are thinking this game is going to be north of 30 points on both sides.
Well, I don't like LSU as a shootout team. Like, I don't like them to be a shootout team. I think that they perform better when they control how much they have to score in a game. So if they're having long methodical drives, if they're taking 7 minutes off the play clock every drive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not very likely that happens. But I'm just saying, like, if they're having more first downs than 3 and outs, I think they set themselves up to be successful in this game.
No doubt. That allows you to wear down the opposition.
Yep.
And rest your defense.
Exactly. So with that being said, I do think that it'll be a low-scoring game if LSU comes out, and that's the only reason why I'm predicting LSU to come to win this game is because I expect them to come out and control the tempo. Now, we don't know what this USC team looks like this year, but we know that last year they were high-flying and they scored quickly. Yeah. So this year, for LSU going into this Week 1 matchup, it has to be a different story, and they have to control the narrative. So that's the only reason why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, is because I do predict LSU to come out and handle business and get the W in this week's game.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Love you repping the Tigers right there.
Hey, man, I'm not, I'm not
that's
all
kind of-
against the SEC.
That's kind of messed up now that I'm thinking about it. You went with my team, but I didn't go with your team, and I might fall on the stake with that one. I'm sorry. Miami's favored for a reason, but I got to represent the SEC right now.
Hey, man, we call people like that homers. You know what I mean? We call those homers, and I'm not gonna hold it against you. You're still my guy at the end of the day, so I'm not gonna really hold it against you, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all love. It's all love, and we do this show just to have fun, and we could either be right, we could be wrong. We can miss on both our well. I went opposite of you. We went the same, so we're gonna be wrong somewhere, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Eventually.
Yeah,
maybe not for you because you're off to a hot start. But
speaking of hot start, I want to get to my upset alert.
Okay.
All right. So last week I spoke about teams having ample time to prepare for big games, and for me, when it comes to upsets, this is one of the main keys and one of the main points that leads to major upsets. Last week, Georgia Tech upset Florida State. This was a game that they had scheduled in the spring, so they probably were preparing in the spring for this game. While FSU was probably trying to figure out who was going to start and this and that in the third during their spring game, I'm thinking that they weren't really focused on Georgia Tech. I'm going to just say that. I don't know. I'm not in their locker room, so I don't really know, right? But my upset here is they had over a month to prepare for the team that's coming in. And not only are they always a sneaky good team that you can't sleep on, they have promise on their team, and they return a lot of starters. It's not a team that's heavy in the transfer portal and so on and so forth. While the transfer portal is good, I mean, it's cool and everything like that, but these teams have to build some rapport amongst themselves. So when I see a team that has 9 returning starters, that lets me know that they have chemistry. And I'm going to take chemistry all day over the talent. The talent is cool. The talent is cool. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to overlook talent, right? But with that being said, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that Boston College comes out and upsets FSU, and FSU starts the season at 0-2.
Man, don't let them get on a tear.
All I'm saying is I believe that we saw a lot of struggles in FSU. And Boston College, not only have they had this game circled for a long time, but they added on to their database of information that they collected. And now they have film on a team that they can compare themselves to in Georgia Tech, who just beat Florida State. If they come out and do the same thing that Georgia Tech did, which was control the clock, in that last drive, Georgia Tech came out and they drove the ball 7 minutes. They took 7 minutes off the clock, 7+ minutes off the clock on their last drive. If they do that, they win this game. And I haven't even gotten into the quarterback, Thomas Castellan. I'm not even going to mess his name up. I'm not even going to mess his name up. But this is a quarterback who rushed for over 1,000 yards. And the nose struggle against Hayden King, right? So Haynes King. So with that being said, it's no telling what they're going to do or how they're going to react with a more mobile quarterback. So that's really my take on it. But I give the Noles hope here. They get their offensive coordinator back, who was suspended for the last game. They get him back, and also hopefully that the headsets work this game, because that was something that they struggled with, I guess, and they had to stop using their headset because Georgia Tech's headsets went out and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of excuses. Yeah. All right. If the Noles lose this game, I'm not taking no excuses. I don't want to hear nothing. And I kind of like Mike Norvell. Like, I can't believe I'm really saying that out loud in person.
Yeah.
But I kind of like Mike Norvell, and I think his heart is in the right place. But I think you can't stop this train that's coming in front of you.
Man, I hear you.
Sorry, I had to hop off. I got to hop off my soapbox, man. I'm sorry, guys. I was real passionate about that upset, and I think I believe it's coming, man. I'm gonna put my money on Boston College in this game, and I'll definitely take the money line here. I think it's,
if that happens, like I tried to get you to do on the live episode, we're cracking an egg on my head because I had a lot to say about Florida State. And I feel like that needs to happen. So.
This guy just really wants to crack an egg on his head. Like, I don't know what's up with that, but he really wants to crack an egg on his head. But with that being said, man, let's move on. Payton, I asked you to build out your 12-team playoff predictions.
Yeah, man.
How did that go?
You know, it went well. I felt like a nerd doing it.
Yeah.
Like just sitting down, coming up with my 12 teams, filling out a bracket like it's March Madness or something. But I did it anyway. So if anyone's interested, I'm just going to quickly run through it here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we're going to start with the conference winners that get the automatic bye. I've got no surprise in the Big Ten as the number 1 seed, Ohio State.
Okay.
But for purposes of keeping it fun and not being too chalky, because if you look around everyone else's playoff brackets, they've got the typical Ohio State, Georgia, Utah winning their respective conferences.
Yep.
I'm going to go with my guys at LSU to win the SEC. And that's saying a lot.
Okay.
Now, I know that's saying a lot. When you've got a new quarterback, you've got to replace 2 wide receivers. I think they have one of the best offensive lines in the country. I think Blake Baker coming in as the defensive coordinator really turns things around on that side of the ball. And I think they've got a big-time X-Factor type player in Harold Perkins, as everyone knows. Everyone knows about Harold at the linebacker position.
What
Payton. You got to say?
Wait,
man?
Payton.
I got to ride. And the thing is, I'm not being chalky. Everyone's picking Georgia.
All I want to ask you,
right,
is are you sure you're going with LSU to win the SEC?
I am, man. I'm going down with my Tigers. Let's do it.
I mean, that's not considering all the other teams that's in the SEC, but
Fair,
hey.
Man.
Okay, all right.
There's a lot of good ones.
Let me ask you a question. Did LSU win the SEC last year?
Nope.
So how did they get better from last year to this year?
Man, I think it comes with faith in Brian Kelly and what he builds at programs.
Okay.
There's a historical year 3 pop with him. And I just trust his culture that he builds.
All I'm saying is I'm a Canes fan, but I'm a wait and see before I say that we win in any type of championship. Like I've had my heart broken many a time, and yeah.
So that might change in the future.
So go ahead, continue. But that was an interesting take. That was very interesting.
Thanks for hearing me out on that one.
That was more surprising.
It wasn't a chalky take.
Yeah,
so.
That was more surprising than the Ohio State pick. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And I think Ohio State can do it. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, I feel like it's about to get even worse here because I've got my ACC champ, and I can't back down from what I said last week. I'm gonna stick with Florida State. I know he's shaking his head. I know that sounds crazy. This team goes through adversity early and they bounce back in a big way. Eventually, DJU has his breakthrough moment.
If they lose this weekend, they have no shot.
That's true.
They have no shot.
Then I guess we're going head to head, right? BC, Florida State. No, I'm just kidding. Florida State's catching way too many points. That's not a head.
Okay, go ahead.
But shoot, that's my ACC champion. Then in the Big 12, how about Kansas State? Always stout along the lines of scrimmage, and I think they've got one of the best young playmakers in the game at quarterback in Avery Johnson. He's inexperienced, but I think he makes enough spectacular plays like we were talking about with Cam Ward to the point where he puts them over the top.
Maybe they'll finally have their day.
Maybe they will, man. It's been a while for them.
Yep.
Again, thanks for hearing me out on this whole list. We got to get to my at-large teams.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. I can't because you shocked me with 2 picks already. So go ahead.
So the team that I have losing to LSU in the SEC championship game, Georgia, they'd be my number 5. They're arguably the best coach team in the country, and they have great top-end talent, as we know. How about Michigan? people sleeping on Michigan. I think they're going to be the 6th seed. As you pointed out earlier, man, 3 projected first-round picks on the defensive side of the ball, and Sharon Moore builds great offensive lines.
Yep.
I think it's a similar formula to what they had last year, play great defense and run the ball and make some timely plays from the quarterback position.
Yep.
I'll go with Michigan at 6, Alabama at 7. All Kalen DeBoer does is win. I think he gets the most out of Jalen Milroe.
You know what's crazy? This is a hot take here. This is a very hot take. But what I will say is, I think they went from 4 teams to 12 teams instead of 6 teams or 8 teams because they had to leave some room for Alabama to get in and find some way inside the playoffs. Like, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Because I don't know. Alabama, I don't know what to expect from them. We're going to find out real soon. But I don't think that they're going to be a powerhouse like they was under Nick Saban. So, DeBoer, you have some show and prove to do. So that's all I'm going to say.
That's true, man. It's a big spotlight for him.
Yep.
You know, he did his thing at Washington. He's got to do it and get it done at Alabama.
It's different in the South. It's different in the South.
It is different, man. So let's just move along here. At number 8, I've got Oregon. So my main thing with Oregon is they don't get over the Ohio State or Michigan hump, but they still win the games they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And they play in a good enough conference to the point where they go 10-2, 11-1, they find their way in. Okay, number 9. How about Arizona? Arguably the best quarterback wide receiver combination or 1-2 punch in the country between quarterback Noah Fafita and receiver.
Okay.
Trust me, I've been trying to work on this name, but Tetairoa McMillan. Tetairoa McMillan, man. He's a dog.
Hey, listen, when it comes to names, trust me, I get it. I don't even try to pronounce them.
But I've got Arizona as the team that loses to Kansas State in that Big 12 championship game. I think they're going to be a real fun team to watch. By the way, these 2 teams play in Week 3 on Friday night, so that's going to be a doozy.
So I see a trend here with your list. So a lot of the teams that play in the conference championships, the loser goes on to make the at-large bids.
Which is a bit of a hot take because a lot of people think the Big 12 and ACC are only going to get the conference champ in.
Right.
So, yes.
Okay.
To answer your question,
I mean, if you make it all the way to the conference championship, you have a chance, and that means that you've proven that you deserve to be in some form of championship caliber games. So I can see that happening.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
So just to finish out the list here, man.
Go ahead.
We're going to number 10. I did put my 4th SEC team in here with Texas.
That's crazy.
They may have the best offensive line in the country, one of the best play callers in Steve Sarkisian, and they bring back Quinn Ewers, who I think at this point is underrated. He put together a pretty good season last year. I expect him to continue that in some form or fashion.
I low-key like Texas.
Season.
I like Texas. I mean, you have them at number 10. I don't know if this list is in any particular order, but I like Texas. I like Texas, and I think that last year they proved that they were on the rise and up and coming, and we'll see where it goes.
They've got it rolling now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
With the NIL money, the program momentum overall, they've got it rolling.
Yeah.
To finish out the list, number 11, the last Power 4 school, because the 12 seed is going to be the Group of 5 school. How about Virginia Tech in the ACC?
What the heck?
Yeah, man. It's a sneaky pick, but
oh no!
You know who Kyron Drones, their quarterback, reminds me of, man?
I hope you don't say another Virginia Tech alumni.
It won't be another Virginia Tech alumni. But what about Jalen Hurts? You got to watch him. I want to see what you have to think about him, man, because he's a pretty spectacular player. And like Haynes King was for Georgia Tech.
You had one job.
What was that?
You had one job.
Yeah.
You chose Virginia Tech over the Hurricanes of Miami.
And they play each other. They play each other too.
Bro, I can't believe, out of all the schools that are in the ACC, you chose Florida State. Okay, I'll give you that. They have high expectations. You chose Florida State. I'll give you that. Right? Even though we know that they're about to lose to Boston College, and it's going to be a crazy day in Tallahassee when that happens. But all I'm saying is Virginia Tech, not North Carolina, not Clemson. Virginia Tech?
I think Brent Pry, head coach, coming into his third year. They bring back a ton of experience from last year's team. I like the way the schedule sets up. That's my upset dark horse pick.
Who do you have playing Florida State in the ACC championship game?
Virginia Tech.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, man, I'm taking some swings. Nobody wants to see a chalky bracket. You know what I mean? You got to take some swings.
You went for it.
Yeah,
You went for the fences.
Might as well, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Number 12.
Yeah, my last team, App State, I just think they have the best schedule to
Okay.
make it in from the group of 5.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know too much about them, but I've heard other people talk about App State.
Yep.
Much respect to them. They've been a formidable program for quite some time now. So
Yeah.
that makes up my 12-team playoff. Again, a little nerdy, but we're going with it, and hopefully I get all 12 in.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you won't get all 12, man, because Virginia Tech will not be there.
All right.
All right, that's the one.
Yeah.
I'll give you App State.
Shoot.
I'll
There
give you
go.
Florida State.
Yeah.
But Virginia Tech, they not going to be there. I'm
Okay.
going to tell you that right now.
Well, that's
Flo-
easy to say, first of all.
Florida State, they not going to be there.
That's harder to say.
That will not
That'll
be
have
there.
to be our ongoing head-to-head for sure.
Hey, listen, I don't have any predictions for the ACC when it comes to who's going to be playing in their conference championship game. But I will say for your SEC, I can definitely see, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how the bracket is set up. So I don't know if Georgia and LSU are in the same division. But
Well, that's the thing. There are no more divisions.
Oh, it's
so
just
the
straight up.
best 2 teams from each conference just play in the championship game.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
yeah. So I can see them going. I can see them going head to head. And low key, I think it's time. And this is just me spitballing here, but I think it's time for Georgia to kind of take a step backwards.
Ooh.
You know, like I think it's time for Georgia to take a step backwards, and I think it's time for Alabama to take a step backwards in the SEC. I think it's prime time for another team to come and take their claim.
I was
in the
about to
SEC.
say that leaves room for somebody. I'm
Yeah.
curious to see if you've got a dark horse SEC team.
I don't have a dark horse SEC team, but I do believe that it's time for somebody else to step up to the plate. Who that will be, I have no idea. But I do think that there's room for someone else to step in. Same thing in the ACC. Clemson had their day.
Yeah.
Florida State had their day. All I'm saying is there's a team that was very successful in the 80s, the 90s.
Early 2000s. I think I know where you're going there.
For the 99 and the 2000s, all I'm saying is it's time. It's time for somebody. It's time for them boys to show back up and prove that they belong in the talks amongst the top teams in college football. But will that happen? I don't know. Let me look into this camera right here, right? So all I'm gonna say is I've been a lifelong Miami Hurricanes fan, and for the past 10 to 15 years, it's been nothing but heartbreak, right? So I need Miami to give me something to cheer for on Saturdays. I remember the times when we had Sean Taylor,
Ed Reed.
man, listen, those were the good days, man. You turn on the Miami Hurricanes game, and you knew we was gonna win. You was just really watching to see what the highlights were gonna be. Like you ain't have no question, right? So I would love for us to get back to those days, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Those days of football is kind of over. Like those days of football are kind of over. Even with the way that Alabama has been winning their games, even the way that Georgia has been winning their games, there has not been no real high-flying, fast-paced football that I've seen in a while.
Man.
Hard-hitting.
I'm kind of taken aback right now because I love to watch the game and I think it's better than ever.
Man, I like big jersey, big shoulder pad football.
Yeah.
But I could be telling my age as well. I could definitely be telling my age. But Man, that was fun, bro. Like I
fun.
thought that was great, bro.
We gotta keep a record of this just in case it happens. But
oh, we have a record. The show is posted every week.
Fair enough.
Tuesdays and Fridays on YouTube, and then we also cut our own clips here for social media. So by all means, if you're not already, please make sure you're following us on all our social media platforms at the Sportaholics, as well as make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Meet us in the comments because we want to have this conversation with you guys. We want to know what you think about Paytons, because this wasn't mine. We want to know what you think about Paytons' 12-team playoff prediction, and also our positional value. Like, what did you think about that? Like, I know I was a little bit iffy, and I wanted to take the rocky road. I wanted to take the scenic route. I didn't want to go down the straight and narrow. I wanted to make it hard for people, and I wanted to hear what they had to say about me picking cornerbacks over quarterbacks. So that was a great show, Payton.
Absolutely, man.
What final thoughts? Do you have any final thoughts, man?
Final thoughts.
I just want to give you time before we wrap up the show to just kind of let it all out and say what you have to say. Anything that you want to talk about for over the weekend?
Well, I'm going to be in Vegas having a great time.
Yeah.
And I'll be thinking of you, and I can't wait for our live episodes.
Man, listen.
That's all I got to say, man.
Please, I'll be here tonight for the rest of the night. Put me in your suitcase.
Hey.
And when you go to the airport, just make sure you use like a dolly or something, because I'm pretty heavy. But, you know, you can put me in your suitcase and I'll meet you right there at the game.
Yeah.
Try to sneak me in somehow, some way.
Yeah, we'll find you a way.
But yeah, man, I hope you have fun this weekend.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to it. Payton's going to the LSU versus USC game. I'll be at Bethune-Cookman versus South Florida game on Saturday. So we're both getting action in this weekend, man.
We are, and we will both be watching that pivotal Miami-Florida game. Tune in for a live episode after that game. We can't wait to react to that one.
Yes, I'll be tailgating at that time, but I guarantee you I'll be in my lawn chair like this.
There you go.
Until the game is over, and then I'll go. Luckily for me, the game at South Florida doesn't start until 7 o'clock, so I do have time to enjoy, party, be festive, and you know. So that's all it's about, man. Until next time, this is Payton, your expert. I'm Russ, the host. We are the Sportaholics, man. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll catch y'all later. Go ahead and take this last drink.
Cool, man.